here. How many fights have you lost? How many fights have you lost? How many fights have you lost? Hey, what you think you're gonna look like when you get your ass up and your ass and got knots all over your damn head?
The boxing world just got flipped completely upside down, and nobody was ready for what happened next. Floyd Mayweather Sr., the man who shaped one of the greatest fighters to ever lace up a pair of gloves, stepped directly up to that microphone at a packed press conference and dropped a warning on Mike Tyson so cold, so calculated, and so brutally personal that the entire internet caught fire within minutes. Sr. didn't just say his son Floyd would win. He didn't just predict a victory with polite confidence. He guaranteed, with fire burning behind his eyes and ice dripping from every single word, that Floyd would beat Mike's behind from one side of that ring to the other. And the way he said it wasn't arrogance. It was something far more dangerous than that. It was certainty. Deep, unshakable, decade-built certainty. The room went dead silent the moment Sr. leaned toward that microphone. Not a whisper, not a cough, nothing. Every person in that room knew they were about to witness something legendary. Sources who were present at the event confirmed that Sr. had only been asked a simple, straightforward question about the potential Mike Tyson exhibition matchup, and what came out of his mouth next was nothing short of absolute warfare.
Oh, but get the hell out of here. How many fights have you lost? How many fights have you lost? How many fights have you lost?
It don't matter.
Sr. didn't stop at general statements. He went surgical. He got specific. He went back through history and used it like a weapon. He reportedly mentioned that Mike couldn't even handle Buster Douglas, a fighter that the entire world had written off as a massive underdog going into that fight. So what exactly makes Mike think that he has even a ghost of a chance of touching someone like Floyd Jr.? But that was just the opening punch. Here is where things escalated from brutal to absolutely savage. Insiders who were present at the event say that Sr. then went through Mike Tyson's losses one by one. Slowly, deliberately, like he was reading from a personal file he had been preparing for years. He brought up how Evander Holyfield didn't just beat Mike once. He embarrassed him twice. He talked about how Lennox Lewis, a technically superior boxer, made Mike quit on his own stool in one of the most humiliating endings in heavyweight championship history. And then he brought up Kevin McBride, a name that still stings in Mike Tyson circles, the fighter who physically wore Mike down until Mike himself chose to walk away. Sr.'s entire argument was razor-sharp and impossible to dismiss. Every single time Mike Tyson stepped into the ring against a fighter who had actual boxing skills, an actual game plan, and actual discipline, Mike got completely exposed. And then Sr. turned the spotlight directly onto his own son, calling Floyd Jr. the single greatest defensive mind that boxing has ever seen, in any era, at any weight class.
Mike Tyson said it. You know why you said by his defense? You know why he's still here? Because defense.
Yeah.
You see these other crazy ass fighters fighting with head, ain't fighting with their mind.
Right.
That's why you see them, their career is short. That's why he's still here and still going strong.
And then something happened that nobody in that room expected. One reporter who was physically sitting at that press conference revealed that Sr. actually stood up from his chair mid-conference and began demonstrating Floyd's legendary shoulder roll right there at the table, in front of every camera and every microphone in the room. He physically showed, with his own aging but still sharp body, exactly how Floyd would make Mike Tyson miss by literal centimeters. Not feet, not inches, centimeters. He demonstrated the precise counter movement, the perfect positioning, the timing that only a master of the craft could fully appreciate. Sr. reportedly said with complete conviction that Mike can throw every single haymaker in his entire arsenal for every round of every minute of that fight. But that punching the air at an empty space where Floyd used to be doesn't win fights, doesn't earn rounds, and doesn't change the final scorecards. The message was devastatingly clear. Power means absolutely nothing when it never connects with its target.
Well, that's what it is. And last but not least, your boy Mike Tyson, man.
Nothing to talk about no more. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is the top fighter in all classes.
Mike Tyson wasn't disciplined enough to do what he had to do to become what my cousin Floyd is today. And that's all I'm gonna say.
So you're saying it's envy? It's envy.
It's very envy.
What else could it be?
Very envious.
It ain't nothing else, man. When them people had their time.
The physical demonstration itself became a moment that people in the room will not forget for a very long time. Every single person pulled out their phones and started recording because what they were witnessing wasn't just trash talk anymore. It was a masterclass. You could see decades of pure, lived boxing knowledge in every single movement Sr. made. The way he shifted his weight, the way his hands moved instinctively, the way his body knew what to do without thinking. It told the full story of a man who has spent his entire life inside the sport. But the personal attacks that followed the demonstration made everything else look mild by comparison. Sources close to the situation confirmed that Sr. went after Mike Tyson's mental state directly, openly, and without a single ounce of remorse. He suggested bluntly that the accumulated years of physical damage Mike has absorbed throughout his career have impacted the way Mike now thinks, processes, and sees reality. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't diplomatic. It was point blank.
You know what that is? You still got it. Right. You got it. You looking.
Sr. made a point that has been reverberating across every boxing forum and social media platform ever since. He said Mike Tyson talks about his past accomplishments, his past power, his past dominance as if all of it happened yesterday morning. But the reality, the cold, undeniable, calendar-confirmed reality, is that Mike Tyson is nearly 60 years old and has not been a
Nice one, Mike. Nice one, Mike. Nice one, Mike. More, Mike.
Sources close to the event claim that Sr. actually laughed when asked about the footage of Mike hitting pads and looking impressive in training clips. He reportedly said that the videos look great on screen, look powerful on social media, look convincing to casual fans, until you take 1 second to remind yourself that those pads are stationary, those pads don't think, and most critically, those pads are absolutely not hitting back.
You done lost 3 fights, and Floyd gonna beat your ass, you're gonna lose 4. And beat all the top fighters there is. And all them same fighters that he beat can beat your ass.
The financial dimension of the conversation surfaced as well, and Sr.'s perspective on it was so cold it could have lowered the temperature in the room by 10 degrees. Insiders suggest that Sr. stated plainly that Mike Tyson needs this fight infinitely more than Floyd Mayweather Jr. does. That Mike is chasing one final massive payday, one last moment in the spotlight, one final chance to feel relevant in a sport that has moved beyond him. While Floyd, who has built an empire that extends far beyond...
And it's not like I'm hurting, and the people is enjoying it, my team is enjoying it, and it's good to be able to travel to different places and train and shake hands with different people from all walks of life.
Here's what made the whole thing even more disrespectful. From brutal into something that made even Floyd's supporters shift uncomfortably in their seats. Sources confirmed that Sr. brought up Mike Tyson's speaking voice, the distinctive, high-pitched tone that Mike has spoken in for years, and reportedly mimicked it directly in front of the gathered press. Witnesses said Sr. used that impression to make the argument that all of Mike's tough talk, all of his training camp bravado, all of his confident predictions simply do not match the physical and biological reality of who Mike Tyson is at this exact point in his life and career. One person who was inside that room described the impression Sr. did as so savage, so ruthlessly specific, that even several members of Team Floyd looked visibly shocked at how far it went. People gasped, cameras kept rolling, and Sr. never flinched for a single second. The detailed comparisons to Floyd's previous opponents came next, and they were absolutely devastating.
I beat more world champions than any fighter in history. I'm 50-0, but half of my fights was world title fights. If you're not betting on a game, it's not even fun to watch. When you're betting on it, you're on the edge of your seat. What these boxers do now, they're boxers. Yeah. They're boxers, I'm a box office. Yeah. There's a difference. These fighters, they get in the bag when they go over to Saudi Arabia. I'm not gonna lie, they're getting great money, not good money, great money. So, of course they wanna see Floyd Mayweather in the exhibition. And you already know what the payday gonna be.
Sr.'s attack didn't stop at physical limitations. People who were present confirmed that he methodically dismantled Mike's strategic foundation as well, the psychological architecture that Mike's entire career was built upon. Sr. said that Mike Tyson's career was constructed almost entirely on two pillars: the primal fear and intimidation he generated before the first bell even rang, and the early, devastating knockout that ended fights before any real tactical chess match could develop. And then Sr. asked the question that cut through everything like a knife through warm butter. He asked, what happens when the opponent simply isn't intimidated? What happens when you walk into that ring and the man standing across from you has stared down the greatest fighters alive and never blinked once? He brought up Evander Holyfield specifically as the case study. A man who walked through Mike's hardest shots, kept his feet planted, kept his eyes forward.
And for him to give me the respect that I always gave him, it was definitely dope, it was dope. I wasn't doing nothing, I was just chilling, you know what I mean? Training. And I got that phone call, and that was the light that sparked it all. Me sparring Tim Bradley, and then it's been up ever since.
What genuinely shocked people about Sr.'s performance at that press conference was the extraordinary level of tactical specificity he brought to the conversation. This wasn't vague trash talk. This was a detailed breakdown delivered by a man who has spent his entire life analyzing fights at the highest possible level. Insiders confirmed that Sr. outlined precisely, step by step, how Floyd would approach the fight strategically. Use the jab relentlessly to control distance and prevent Mike from ever getting comfortable. Force Mike to chase him around the ring for round after round, burning through his gas tank trying to track down a target that keeps disappearing. Allow Mike to exhaust himself throwing combinations at empty air for the middle rounds. Then, when Mike's legs are heavy and his breathing is labored and his punches have lost half their snap, Floyd turns the switch and begins breaking him down.
Man, and I'm gonna tell y'all the truth about Canelo. Easy, man. It cakewalk. Easy. Y'all sitting up here, y'all praising this dude was nothing. I was almost 40 years old when I cooked this dude. Easy.
Sr. took on the power puncher argument head-on with zero hesitation and zero room for counter-argument. People who were present confirmed that he listed Floyd's previous opponents who were genuine knockout threats, fighters with real, proven, documented one-punch power, and walked through each fight methodically. Shane Mosley, a fighter who had floored Antonio Margarito, a monster in his own right, landed a massive right hand in round 2 that actually rocked Floyd Mayweather. Rocked him, one of the few times in Floyd's career.
Just like that. You don't find people that just like that. Somebody got to be in the background. He's the best ever, yes.
As his father, how did that make you feel?
Huh?
As his father, how did that make you feel knowing,
There it is. I'm done. Well, if you want to read them off, read them off. Because this is Floyd Mayweather Sr., the main man behind it.
The discussion of exhibition rules added a completely different layer of savagery to everything Sr. had already said. Insiders claim Sr. predicted, mockingly, that Mike's team would walk into negotiations asking for every possible protection imaginable. Headgear, larger, puffier gloves that reduce impact, shorter round durations, a referee with a hair trigger to break the fighters apart at the first sign of contact. All of it, Sr. implied, because Mike's own team secretly knows that Mike cannot survive a genuine, unrestricted boxing exchange with Floyd. And then Sr. said something that had everyone in the room looking at each other with wide eyes. He reportedly stated that Floyd would agree to fight with weighted gloves heavier than regulation, and still systematically dismantle Mike for every single round of the fight. He mentioned that during Floyd's active career, Floyd regularly sparred with heavyweight fighters, men who were significantly larger, heavier, and physically more powerful than Floyd, purely for training variation, and made those heavyweights look completely lost trying to hit him. The fan-based discussion was equally merciless. Sources claim Sr.
He had movement that he had in his youth. First of all, that's an energy-burning style. At 58 years old, you're not pulling that style off. Tyson didn't even have that style in his mid-30s when he was almost at retirement age. He was already not moving his head like that. So, I don't know, man. I don't really know what to make of this. I don't know exactly what to think of it.
The age gap between the two fighters became one of Sr.'s most repeated and most pointed arguments throughout the entire press conference. Sources confirm he emphasized repeatedly that Floyd is nearly a full decade younger than Mike, and stressed that in the context of fighters who are both in the latter stages of their lives, that 10-year difference isn't just a number on a birth certificate. It is the difference between a body that can still compete and perform at an elevated level and a body that is simply no longer capable of doing the things the brain is asking it to do. He brought up multiple examples of legendary fighters from previous generations who made comeback attempts in their 50s and ended up in situations that were genuinely painful to witness. Not because they lacked heart or willpower, but because biological reality doesn't negotiate. Sr. reportedly then pivoted to Mike's historically documented stamina problems, and this is where the argument became almost impossible to refute. He pointed out that even during Mike Tyson's absolute prime years, when he was physically the most dominant heavyweight on earth, Mike would begin fading noticeably after 4 or 5 rounds of sustained, high-intensity action. That wasn't age. That wasn't rust. That was prime Mike Tyson. And then Sr. asked, out loud, to the entire room what exactly people think is going to happen to Mike's stamina now, at 58 years old, when he couldn't sustain elite-level output for even 5 rounds when he was in his physical peak at 22. The logic was airtight, and it silenced a significant portion of the arguments Mike's supporters had been making publicly for weeks. The prediction Sr. then delivered was specific enough to make headlines on its own.